It's so interesting to me how many people show up when you challenge racism to like tell you that you're wrong, to say like, hey, white girl, you need to stop. And it's not the individuals who are experiencing the racism, it's other white people coming in saying things like STFU, you know what you're talking about, how dare you say that against people like us, you know they don't actually love you, you know they're not going to want you, they will never accept you. And typically when I respond back to some of these comments, because I do respond back to some of them because I think it's my job to continue to uphold like the expectation that you need to sit with the discomfort of the reality of this, I'm making comments like, who is they? Who is the they you're talking about? What makes it so hard to sit with this? Why is it so uncomfortable for you? Because your discomfort is small, especially in comparison to the discomfort of experiencing racism your entire life.
I've lost so many friends and family members from speaking out against racism, but it has all been worth it. I've had people I used to spend my Christmases with tell me that I'm a disappointment and the embodiment of everything that's wrong with America. I've had family members post my videos and make fun of me online. My kindergarten teacher told me that I'm a disappointment and then immediately blocked me. She's a Latina woman who has consistently been a Trump supporter. I've had people who I thought were my friends who were also anti-racist and liberal who immediately unfollowed me because I became too controversial. And yet I would do it all again. And the reason why is because I see every single human being is equally important as the next. The life of a homeless person, of a drug addict, of a person of color is equally important to a white person's life. But they see me as a direct attack on their way of life and as trying to take away some of their power in society. They tell me I'm on the wrong side and that all I'm doing is causing trouble. They tell me that they hope something bad happens to me so that I can't even continue my advocacy. But I would encourage white people to do the same because it is hard, but we need people to try to deconstruct the society that we are currently living in. I'm on the side of love and human connection, not power and status.
I'm going to talk about how isolating it can be as a white person when you call out racism. I was at my local coffee shop. There was a guy in there saying a lot of disparaging things about Muslims. He's talking to another person as he's saying things like, I can't stand that language, I don't even know what they're saying, they need to go back, you know, the same trope. I turned to him and I said, you're being racist and I don't appreciate it. And immediately the whole place, silence. I'm looked at as like the weird one. Someone said, whoa, 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 we don't want to have that kind of conversation. So as soon as I call out and say, hey, buddy, when you call out that kind of behavior, people don't like it, and it can be very isolating. And I feel isolated right now. I'm sitting in the rain making this TikTok because I want people to know that that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to isolate you. It's meant to be like, wait, did I say something wrong? Because I didn't say anything. I'm just reflecting back to this guy, hey, you got to watch your mouth when you're around me because I don't appreciate that. If you care about this type of topic, it's important to be prepared to know that a lot of people are not going to be receptive to you calling truth to that type of power. It's going to feel isolating, and you might end up making TikToks in the middle of a courtyard in the rain just to feel some sort of validation that I did the right thing. And the guy left after I called him that.
White people, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our violence, white violence. No more deflecting, no more blaming everything on everybody else. Let's confront ourselves. White people in America, our history is so extremely violent. And instead of confronting that, we continue to blame other people for the issues and the problems in this country, instead of just taking ownership of our part to play in everything, which is a huge part. Can we stop scapegoating other groups of people, please, and just look at ourselves? White people, it's time to talk about it. Like, it's long past time. Getting rid of other groups of people in this country is not going to make this country better. It's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make you better. I think white people are so scared to talk about race and to talk about white violence and white supremacy because they don't want to connect themselves to it. We don't want to feel like we're a part of the problem. But unless you're acknowledging the reality of how the US, this country, runs, you are a part of the problem. I truly believe in my heart, in my soul, that if you're born a white person in this country or on this planet, but I'll just speak about this country, Part of that journey is to dismantle systems that have been built to oppress other people. The hard work of life is to confront yourself. How do I benefit from the way that things are? And how does my benefiting from those things harm other people? And instead of walking around with, 1,000-pound bag of shame on your back, consider it your responsibility to do that work. Consider it an opportunity that you are in the best possible position to make this world a better place by not accepting racist and prejudiced and oppressive systems for what they are and trying to contribute to changing them. Use the privilege that you have for good. I don't think that anybody can ever really love themselves without being honest about themselves, without being honest with themselves. And that work is painful and hard, but it's so worth it. White people, you don't have to consciously think that you're better than other people in order to contribute to harm against them. All it takes to contribute to harm is to stay silent and disengaged. White people, can we finally get this shit right? Can we finally take accountability? Can we finally look ourselves in the mirror and decide that this isn't good enough? We're not doing a good enough job. You aren't losing because somebody else is safe and cared for. You aren't losing because somebody different than you exists. White people, let's talk about it. Let's start having these conversations with ourselves and with each other. It's time.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Kelly Afrosphere. Today, we're diving into a topic that doesn't get enough honest, nuanced conversation. What happens when white people speak out against racism and find themselves ostracized, criticized, or even pushed out of their own families, friend groups, or workplaces? This is not about centering white feelings over the lived realities of black people and other communities of color. It's about understanding the social dynamics of racism, the cost of challenging it, and what real allyship actually requires. Let's start with a truth of it. Racism is not just individual prejudice. It's a system of beliefs, practices, and structures that have been normalized over centuries. Because it's normalized, many people who benefit from it don't consciously see it. So when someone from within the dominant group calls it out, they are not just criticizing an idea, they are challenging a shared comfort, a shared identity, and sometimes a shared silence. For some white individuals, recognizing racism can be a painful awakening. It often begins with education. Reading history beyond what was taught in school, listening to black voices, paying attention to patterns in policing, housing, healthcare, and employment. And once you see it, it becomes difficult to unsee. But speaking up about it, especially in predominantly white spaces, can come at a cost. Brothers and sisters, social belonging is powerful. Human beings are wired to seek acceptance from their group. When a white person challenges a racist joke at the dinner table, questions a biased policy at work, or calls out discriminatory language among friends, they disrupt that sense of group unity. Instead of being praised for moral courage, they may be labeled too sensitive, brainwashed, divisive, or accused of betraying their own. This reaction often stems from defensiveness. Many people equate being told that racism exists with being personally accused of being evil. But acknowledging systemic racism is not the same as condemning every individual as malicious. Still, because the topic is emotionally charged, the person who raises it can become the target. In some cases, they are excluded from social gatherings, mocked in group chats, or sidelined professionally. It's important to understand that this ostracism does not compare to the systemic discrimination faced by people of color. Losing comfort within a privileged group is not the same as enduring generational injustice. However, recognizing the social cost helps us understand why more people don't speak up. Silence is often rewarded, dissent is often punished. There's also the phenomenon of what some scholars call white fragility, where even well-intentioned conversations about race trigger discomfort and defensiveness. When one white person breaks the unspoken rule of silence, others may react strongly because it forces them to confront their own inaction or complicity. It can feel easier to dismiss the messenger than to grapple with the message. Another layer to this is performative versus genuine allyship. Some people speak out publicly, but remain quiet in private spaces where it matters most. Why? Because the private space is where the real social cost exists. It's one thing to post a hashtag, it's another to challenge your uncle, your best friend, or your boss. True anti-racism often requires uncomfortable conversations behind closed doors. We also need to be honest about motivation. Not every white person who calls out racism does so perfectly. Some may center themselves, seek praise, or speak over the very communities they claim to support. When that happens, criticism is valid. But when someone is sincerely trying to challenge injustice and is met with hostility from their own community, that reveals how deeply entrenched the problem is. Brothers and sisters, real change historically has required people within dominant groups to challenge the status quo. During the civil rights movement, there were white allies who faced backlash, threats, and social exclusion. They were called traitors to their race. Yet progress required coalition building. It required people willing to lose status in order to stand on principle. So, what can we learn from this? First, anti-racism is not a trend, it's a long-term commitment. It will cost something: comfort, approval, sometimes even relationships. Second, education matters. People are more likely to stand firm when their understanding is grounded in history and facts rather than emotion alone. Third, accountability goes both ways. Allies must listen, learn, and accept correction without becoming defensive. For those who are white and committed to calling out racism, the goal is not to be the hero, it's to leverage your position to challenge harmful norms in spaces where marginalized voices may not be heard or may face harsher consequences. That means speaking up when it's uncomfortable, but also, knowing when to step back and amplify others. And for the broader community, including us here on Kelly Afrosphere, we can recognize that dismantling racism is not about creating new divisions. It's about confronting old ones that were built into our systems long before we were born. When someone chooses to challenge prejudice within their own group, that can be part of the broader struggle for justice. If it's rooted in humility and action, ostracism is a powerful social weapon. It keeps systems intact by discouraging dissent. But history shows that progress often begins with individuals willing to stand alone before others find the courage to join them. The question is not whether there will be backlash. The question is whether the pursuit of justice is worth the discomfort. Brothers and sisters, conversations like this require maturity and nuance. We can acknowledge the social cost some face for speaking out while never losing sight of the deeper systemic harms that made speaking out necessary in the first place. If we keep our focus on justice, truth, and collective growth, we move closer to a society where calling out racism isn't an act of rebellion, it's simply an expectation. Thank you for tuning in to Kelly Afrosphere. Keep learning, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep building bridges rooted in truth. Kindly subscribe, like, and share this video. See you in the next video. Peace.